What's going on, guys? Welcome back to this week's first exclusive segment from the greatest podcast on turf. I'm Ryan.
I'm Anthony.
And for this exclusive segment, we are going to be doing a waiver wire episode as well as some tips to win you fantasy football playoffs. It is that time. Next week, it is the week before fantasy football playoffs. But for some, it's technically playoffs because if you don't win, you are not in. Be sure to check out our podcast coming out today where we did a recap of everything that happened last week. And we have a couple of episodes coming up, Stardom Situm episode, Best Bets episode, and a weekly Pick'em series. So be sure to check that out later in the week.
Absolutely. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe if you're new to the channel. Our subscribers have been going up a little bit. We appreciate all you guys. If you guys are new, welcome. Click the links in the description for all of our content. Kyler sucks, like I said. Just kidding. And yeah, we got the greatest podcast on turf studio coming at the start of the new year. We're working on that. We're very excited for that. We're going to the Eagles game this weekend. If you're up in Philly, I know we have some Philly fans. I mean, we got canceled by Eagles YouTube last week. So if you're there and you want to come say what's up to us and enter a pretty dope giveaway, come see us. And speaking of giveaway, actually, you know who our giveaway wouldn't be possible without?
Our sponsor, Little Italy Pizzeria. They got the best cheesesteaks, the best pizza in all of Delaware. 2 locations. One of those is in Middletown, Delaware. The other one is in Townsend. Be sure to come in and check it out. It's a great family business with great food, great prices. If you come into the one in Townsend, watch the games, bring the family, lunch, dinner, TV on every wall, come in and check it out. You will not regret it. Let them know that the greatest podcast on turf sent you. They will take care of you. Also show proof that you're subscribed and they will hook you up with an additional discount.
We call it the greatest podcast on turf special. You come in and show you're subscribed, you get 15% off of your order. So come in and enjoy the already very cheap prices and make them even cheaper with your subscription to the greatest podcast on turf on YouTube. We appreciate all our new subscribers. We appreciate all of our subscribers and our supporters in general. We appreciate you guys. You guys keep us going. We love you guys commenting. Also, check us out on TikTok. Road to 1,000 followers. I think we just hit 400 followers. So thank you guys if you follow us on there. And where do we start? Should we start with waivers? Some guys to pick up this week.
I'll start off with the hottest waiver wire pickup this week. Rashaad Penny out of, and I'll give him time to think about it. Rashaad Penny, he had 16 carries.
He's Oklahoma State, right?
No, he's not. 16 carries for 137 yards and 2 touchdowns. Going up against the Houston Texans. Now I know that they are the Houston Texans, and you could say that the Houston Texans have a pretty crappy run defense, but they have an easy schedule coming out. They play the Chicago Bears, who are pretty low. I think they play Atlanta also. They play the Rams first, and then the Bears, and then the Lions. That is a great schedule. The Lions, the Lions will be your most likely championship week, and Rashaad Penny against the Lions can be a potential league winner just like that. And also the Bears in the first round. That is a pretty good matchup. So Rashaad Penny, we've heard this for years and years and years, that Rashaad Penny will be the man for the Seattle Seahawks backfield. He was a second-round pick out of San Diego State. He was supposed to be the man. He was one of the leading rushers in all of college football. He definitely was the leading his final season. And injuries, Chris Carson, just Christine Michael, and
Thomas
Dallas and Thomas Rawls, everything that could have happened in Seattle happened, and Rashaad Penny wasn't the guy. This should be his opportunity in theory. He erupted with about 8 yards a carry, 137 yards, 2 touchdowns. If he keeps doing that, he is a league winner. Would I feel confident starting him the first week? No. But if he keeps doing it, that final week in Detroit looks awful nice. So pick up Rashaad Penny. Partially so your league mates don't.
Yeah, I'm actually in a league where the playoffs start this week. Like, this is the first week of the playoffs.
Nice.
Because that kind of cucked me because I thought I had another week, and I don't.
Fair.
But yeah, Rashaad Penny is the hottest guy out right now. I mean, I know he only torched the Texans, but still, he averaged 8 yards a carry. Averaging 8 yards a carry against any defense in football says a lot. Especially behind a Seattle offensive line who's not very good, and especially with the easy schedule, and especially that it's the fantasy football playoffs, so these league winners are really going to have to come in clutch, and Rashaad Penny, like Ryan said, could potentially be that guy. And moving on to this next guy, he's probably a hot waiver wire pickup. He's been hot the past 2 weeks, and this is only depending on the status of Adam Thielen, and that is KJ Osborne. Over the past 2 games, KJ Osborne has 16 targets, about 130 yards, 2 touchdowns. I mean, he's been killing it. He gets a lot of targets. He's when Justin Jefferson's getting keyed on, KJ Osborne is the deep threat target who Kirk Cousins looks for, especially Kirk Cousins likes to air the ball out downfield, and especially playing against the Bears, the Rams, and the Packers this next coming weeks. I know that's not the most flashy schedule you'd want to look for, but I mean, as a receiver too, where these teams are going to have their top guys on Justin Jefferson, if Adam Thielen continues to stay out, that's only going to make it that much better for KJ Osborne to be getting involved. I picked up KJ Osborne last week, started him. He got me 20 points this week, helped me win the week. I mean, he's got that potential, especially next week, or this week, I would guess you would say it'd be this week, going up against the Rams. For some people, it's the first round of playoffs. For some weeks, it is the week you may need to win. I need to win this week in one of my leagues to get in the playoffs. So KJ Osborne against the Chicago Bears may potentially be that guy. But like I said, it's as long as Adam Thielen's out. If Adam Thielen's back, obviously you're not going to be as high on KJ Osborne or start him just because Adam Thielen is arguably... he's definitely the receiver too. He gets a lot of love, and KJ Osborne does not get that much love with Adam Thielen on the field. So, I mean, if you got KJ Osborne, keep an eye out for the Adam Thielen status. Use a waiver pickup on him. He could potentially win you the week to get in the playoffs against the Bears this week, who are effing terrible.
That's pretty much all we have for skill position players, unless you want to hop on the Jakeem Grant or Demir Bird hype train. So we're going to touch on a couple quarterbacks and defenses that can carry you through fantasy football playoffs. The first guy I would like to mention is Tua. I have been a huge fan of Tua since the start, I would say. His next 3 games, he got the Jets. That is a great matchup. Then the Saints. It's not as good for sure, but the Saints are they're good against the run, but they're not good against the pass. So that's a decent matchup there. And then the Titans at the final week. I wouldn't be too excited about that one, but Tua has been a pretty solid quarterback since when he's on the field. He might make some mistakes, but he usually is a quarterback that will score fantasy points. He's like Jameis Winston. He'll throw interceptions, but he also throws touchdowns, especially in garbage time. So Tua, I think he can be a pretty solid option. He can also run the ball if he has to. He's not a great rushing quarterback like the next guy we're going to touch on, but Tua, if you need a quarterback, especially for next week to get into the playoffs, going up against a Jets defense that isn't good at all, Tua is a pretty good pickup.
Absolutely, and with Miami coming off the bye, that's another huge upside. They've gotten that extra week of rest, that extra week of preparations. Now, hear me out. The next guy I'm going to talk about, I know you may be scared. I understand, because
I would not. I'd be on this hype train 100,000%.
The turnovers are there, but I'm talking about Taysom Hill. I know his next 3 games aren't very flashy games, but listen, I'm going to get into that. He's got the Bucs this week, the Dolphins next week, and the Panthers after that. It's 3 solid defenses, but hear me out. Taysom Hill threw 4 interceptions and still scored 25 fantasy points. He brings that much to the table. When any quarterback can go out and throw 4 interceptions and still give you 25 fantasy points, I mean, that's fucking huge, right? I mean, yeah, the 4 interceptions, it sucks to watch I know you're watching the game. It sucks to watch him throw 4 picks, but if he gets given 25 fantasy points to the Dallas Cowboys defense, who's been top 10 in the league against quarterbacks this year, and the Jets defense, who has also not been horrible against fantasy football quarterbacks this year. I mean, that's an upside. Taysom Hill, he's got the ability to run the football. That's his main thing. He gets the goal line carries over Alvin Kamara. He can throw the ball. What's the word I'm looking for? Like, not efficiently, but like...
He can throw the ball.
If he needs to throw the ball, he can complete passes. Taysom Hill, like I said, he's a guy who can throw 4 picks and still score you 25, 30 points in fantasy football because he has that running upside and he gets the goal line carries. So if you need a streamer quarterback, I know the defenses may scare you a little bit, but 50 points in the past 2 weeks for a quarterback, that's pretty good for a Taysom Hill.
So leaving the quarterbacks, I'm going to jump to defenses. I'll touch on the first 2, leaving the second 2. The first 2, touch on the Dolphins. They got the Jets, the Saints, and the Titans. The Jets, we all know it. Zach Wilson, upset.
Yep.
The Saints, he just said Taysom Hill threw 4 picks. Taysom Hill threw 4 picks. And the Dolphins, and then the Titans, I wouldn't be as excited about the Titans, but those first 2 are absolutely beautiful. The Dolphins have been playing solid football for the past 5, 6 or so weeks, coming off of a bye this week. So against the Jets, they should absolutely roll them. The Dolphins have been putting up 20 fantasy points on defense, and that will win you a week in fantasy football. And I can see them doing it against the Jets. I'm pretty sure they play the Jets, went on a bye, now they're going to play the Jets again. So that's 3 straight weeks to prepare for the Jets. This should be a blowout against the Jets, and they should not be able to do anything defensively. Against the Saints, it's a backup quarterback. I wouldn't be as excited as the Jets, but it's still a pretty good matchup. And then the Titans, they're not known to score a lot of points, so you can still even start them then, most likely. Jumping to the next team I'm talking about, Philly. You see the star, but it's Philly. They play Washington next week.
Banged up
Washington. The Giants. Banged up Giants. Then Washington. Banged up Washington. Cowboys they play Washington, Giants, Washington. And then Cowboys. Finish out their season.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, yeah. My bad.
So, yeah, Washington with a banged up quarterback and everything. The quarterback, he might be back in the second week, but Dallas still put up 16, 17 points, and the Eagles' defense has been playing absolutely lights out. So, with all that being said, Philly defense is a pretty good one to stream, pick up for the final 3 weeks.
Absolutely, and this is crucial because if you're a guy like me who's just been streaming defenses every week, this is huge information. The first defense I want to touch on, I know they're rostered in 80% of Yahoo leagues, but if they're still out there, they're out here in this league I'm looking at right now.
They might be out there in leagues local to the Delaware area because people hate
the Dallas Cowboys.
Essentially.
Dallas, they play the Giants this week, a banged up Giants. They're playing Mike Glennon. Yeah, they scored 29. They scored 20-some points against the Chargers defense, but the Chargers defense fucking blows. So let's be real. The Chargers defense is not good, and they're banged up. Then they play Washington next week, who could potentially still be banged up. I know Terry McLaurin has a concussion. Taylor Heineke messed his knee up a little bit. Their offensive line's banged up. They had like 3 or 4 big injuries against Dallas yesterday, and Dallas absolutely tore them up, and it was this nightmare for the Washington defense. And then they play the Cardinals to wrap it up. Now, this is a week where you may want to look at
somewhere else
to grab the Eagles defense, the Dolphins defense, or the defense who I'm going to touch on next, who has a very easy final week matchup. But yeah, just if they're out there, the Dallas Cowboys, the lowest amount of points their defense has put out for fantasy is 5 against the Raiders, which still isn't too bad for a defense. I mean, they get a lot of turnovers too.
Micah Parsons, Defensive Player of the Year.
Micah Parsons was getting MVP chance.
Trayvon Diggs, interceptions leader.
Yeah, I mean, the Dallas, they get turnovers. They've been schemed up very good by Dan Quinn. So, I mean, Dallas' defense has been killing it this year. So, look for Dallas' defense for the next 2 weeks. And you also want to look at the San Francisco 49ers defense. The 49ers, they play the Falcons this week, then the Titans next week, and then they finish up with the Houston Texans. That's 3 easy games in my book.
Texans could be a league winner. Unless Davis Mills
starts dotting them up, but I can't see that happening. This 49ers defense is arguably the safest defense that we've said because the 49ers defense has been very good all season long. Like I said, the Falcons blow. They're terrible. They're terrible. Then the Titans blow. They don't have anyone on offense, and the Texans are the effing Texans. I mean, I'm not even trying to be like biased, but let's see the 49ers. I mean, the 49ers defense, their worst defensive game this year was against the Cardinals, which isn't saying much because the Cardinals have the highest powered offense in all of football. But yeah, I mean, they absolutely killed it. They wreaked havoc on Joe Burrow last week, 5 sacks. They wreaked havoc on Russell Wilson the week before, 4 sacks. In the past 3 games, they have 12 sacks, 3 fumble recoveries. They have only allowed in the 20 points. The 49ers, like Ryan said, are potentially a league winner. They could win you a championship. They could win you that big fantasy pot that you all put in for at the beginning of the year. So if you need a defense, you got to go with one of these 4 defenses, or if you look into it more. But these are the 4 defenses who aren't rostered in most leagues, who have arguably the easiest schedules of them all.
This next portion of the video, we're going to be talking about tips to winning your fantasy football playoffs. The first one I'm going to touch on, it's basically coming off of this defense thing. It's pick up defenses, pick up quarterbacks, pick up players, and then stash them for good matchups. If you're holding on to, this is also going to touch on another kind of tip.
And I'll pick
if you're holding on to, I don't know, a scrub that you think is going to turn things around, he's not going to turn things around in the next couple weeks. So go ahead and drop him. Pick up a defense that's going to help you out next week. So, for example, say you have the Bills defense, and right now this week they have a great matchup against the Panthers. Well, the first week of playoffs they play against the Patriots. Personally, I'm not in love with that matchup. So I'm going to go out there and pick up maybe Philly's defense so I can have Philly against the Giants and then Buffalo when they play a good defense or when they play a bad offense. When you're in fantasy playoffs, these players are not going to stay on your fantasy team in redraft leagues. They're going to be gone and you'll never see them again. Lose the attachment. If they didn't get you there, don't rely on them to win you the game. If they've been bad all season and you're just attached to the big name, let them go. Julio Jones, let him go. Allen Robinson, let him go. Not quite DK because that would be a kick if he came back.
Cortland Sutton, let him go.
Cortland Sutton,
Antonio effing Brown, let him go.
Unfortunately, probably yes. I mean, there's guys that I can't think of off the top of my head, but sometimes you just have to, like I said,
Bite the
let him
bullet.
go. Bite the bullet, let him go. Robbie Anderson, if you have him still, let him go. I can't think of any more, but if these players aren't winning you games, let them go. They're not going to just turn things around in a week. So pick up defenses that can help you in the future. Be smart. And win your league.
Yeah, seriously, that leads us. I mean, you kind of touched on it. Don't be afraid to let players go. Pick up defenses. Use the waiver wire. The waiver wire is your best friend, especially down the stretch with these injuries. I mean, the next rule pretty much, use handcuffs. Handcuffs are a fucking huge deal because you look at Christian McCaffrey. If you were smart, you stashed Chuba Hubbard on your bench. You look at Dalvin Cook, who is out. You stash Alex Madison. You want to stash these handcuff guys. Sony Michel, Darrell Henderson got COVID and he's been banged up, and Sony Michel has been absolutely killing it. Grab these handcuffs. They're huge deals. They'll be huge down the stretch. I'm sure there's not a lot of handcuffs available just because the injuries and a lot of people have them. Like even Ramondre Stevenson ran himself into a committee in New England now. He gets a lot of carries now. Use your handcuffs. If you got a running back that's banged up or questionable throughout the week, if you have a spot open, if you just dropped a Antonio Brown or a Allen Robinson and you have the extra spot open, go ahead and pick up a Ramondre Stevenson, Sony Michel, a Samaje Perine because Joe Mixon has been on and off the injury report just to be safe. You'd rather be safe than sorry. Say end of the week, Friday night, Darrell Henderson was ruled out on the COVID list.
Mm-hmm.
If Sony Michel was on the way, if Sony Michel was available, you picked him up. But he shouldn't have been available because you should have already had him. Stash your handcuffs. Use them. They're your best friend, especially down the stretch. Like I said, you saw Christian McCaffrey. Chuba Hubbard has been killing it in fantasy because Christian McCaffrey's hurt. He's a handcuff. You see every week Dalvin Cook goes out. Alex Madison is a guaranteed 20 points. Use your handcuffs. Use the waiver wire. The waiver wire is your best friend, especially down the playoff championship stretch.
Yeah, I mean, fantasy football playoffs time is the time for you to be safe and put the best team forward and not worry about the bench. You worry about the starters, so if your starter gets out, you want the best guy to go in and fill it. If David Montgomery gets hurt, you want Khalil Herbert to come in, most likely. Touching on be active on the waiver wire, like you said, I'm going to bring another aspect to that, and defense is sometimes the best offense. Personally, I'm going to look ahead in future weeks to see the guys that I'm playing against and what they're going to be weak in. For example, I'm playing against Lamar Jackson next week. If he happens to miss a week, I'm looking at the top quarterback on the waiver wire and I'm going to pick him up. Huh?
They already ruled Lamar out, I think.
No, they didn't. They said he has a sprained ankle and might play. Unless I'm wrong. I don't think I'm wrong.
I was watching. I saw. Hold on.
I don't think so. So yeah, I'm playing against Lamar Jackson next week. And maybe Kirk Cousins is out there. Kirk Cousins might be the best streaming quarterback of the week. I'm going to go pick him up and play defense so I don't have to deal with Kirk Cousins. And I'm going to force him to pick up somebody else. If they have a bad defensive matchup and they're going to pick up a defense, I'm going to go get the best defense out there and keep them on my bench. That's how I'm going to do things. If their running back is hurt or banged up, I'm going to go get their backup. That's what I'm going to do. It might not be, it's not the most classy move, but you got to win, so you got to win.
All is fair in love and war.
All is fair in love and war. And the next one I'm going to touch on, I'll leave you the last one. Listen to the weather, man. It's winter time. There's also another aspect to the next one he's going to say, but if your man Kirk Cousins out there in Chicago and it's a blizzard,
It's 10 degrees out.
it's 10 degrees out, it's a blizzard, don't play him.
No.
It's winter time.
Yeah.
You have to keep track of this. Quarterbacks aren't going to throw the ball in a foot of snow. It might not happen. The Patriots-Bills game,
Yes. Prime
that
example.
win was horrible. Quarterbacks couldn't throw the ball. Mac Jones threw once, twice.
Three times.
Three
He threw
times.
One
He
for
threw
three with
three
like
times.
7 yards.
Kickers, when he kicked it went straight up and went straight back down. Keep track of the weather. Listen to the weather, man. But also, the next piece of advice.
Don't get too cute. Listen, like...
Play the people that got you there.
Play your best players unless they're named James Robinson.
It's fair.
That's fair. Play your best players. Listen, just because, I mean, you go back to that Patriots-Bills game. I had Stephon Diggs going. Was I going to sit Stephon Diggs because it was a blizzard? No. Because that would be stupid. Because if I'm not mistaken, that week, Stephon Diggs still got me 10 points. I mean, sit your best players. Like, even like...
Play your best players.
Play your best players. Don't sit your best players unless they're named James Robinson. I mean, you don't want to get too cute, seriously. I'd rather lose...
I'd rather lose because Jonathan Taylor got 5.
Than lose because...
Yeah.
Tevin Coleman off the waiver wires got 2.
Yeah.
Like, you don't want to get too cute. That'll cost you. Go out with your best player so you can say, oh, I lost because Jonathan Taylor had a bad week, not fucking Tevin Coleman got me negative points and got benched because he sucks. You don't want to get too cute. I mean, seriously, don't get too cute, especially like, the only way I would say get too cute is like quarterbacks. Like you said, I mean, if
you would have to be a blizzard.
If you have a Tom Brady who's playing in like a blizzard, be questionable to start Tom Brady because they have a very good running attack and they're not going to try and force the ball thrown with a great running attack.
Personally, I stream quarterbacks anyway, so it doesn't really matter to me. But if you went out and you drafted Pat Mahomes, you're probably playing. Like I said, unless it is a blizzard, unless the weather is horrible, horrible, don't be too cute, and, enjoy yourself, and do decisions that you're not going to regret making.
Yeah, absolutely.
Trust your gut. Don't be too cute. There is a fine line, so don't cross it.
I'm telling you, enjoy the playoffs. If you're in the playoffs, you've made it this far. You don't want to lose because you got too cute or because you weren't paying attention to the waiver wire. I don't know about you. ESPN has notifications, so every time someone gets picked up or dropped, keep an eye on it. Watch it very closely, because if someone drops someone and you're like, oh shit, they tried to get too cute, there you can go swoop in and grab the player they dropped trying to get too cute. It's all like Ryan said, you gotta look all this fair and love and war. You gotta look past this first week. You gotta try and take out your opposition, because in the end of the day, money's on the line. Punishments are on the line if the league didn't get ruined halfway through the year.
Also, follow Rappaport or Schefter on Twitter. Because if those guys report somebody got COVID, you wouldn't be the first one there.
Yes.
So,
I mean, yeah, pretty much that's all. Like, example, I saw me and Ryan are in multiple leagues together. I saw he picked up Samaje Perine in a league he had Joe Mixon in. I saw that, didn't think twice, and went and picked up Samaje Perine in the league that I had Joe Mixon in. So again, watch the waiver wire. Notifications on your phone. It's a big deal. It's the playoffs. And is that everything?
That's it.
Comment below if you have any other questions. Hit us up on Instagram if you have any questions. We're active on Instagram. We see your comments. We both get notified on our phones if you comment on Instagram, or if you shoot us a DM on Instagram. We don't get notified YouTube comments for some reason on the YouTube app. We have to go look ourselves. But if you text us on Instagram, linked in the description below, we both get the notification. We will reply to you as soon as we can. Like the video, subscribe. Good luck in fantasy football. Win some money. If you have any questions, drop them below. We will get back to you. We have the best advice around. I don't give a fuck what you're talking about. Eagles fan 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or you're a bum. We are the greatest podcast on turf, and we'll see you guys on Thursday with our fantasy football playoff Stardom Situm edition.
See you.
Peace.